Hi, welcome to your favorite girly gossip segment on Channel 14 with your hosts Harris and Kayla.
All right, so this week on your faves show, we're talking about Eliza, a young girl with a dream of owning a flower shop and all of her struggles in between.
So Eliza meets this Professor Higgins in a garden, and this is where the story all begins.
So Eliza overhears Higgins' cocky conversation saying he could turn her into a duchess, and the next day she shows up at his store asking for his help. This event turning into a bet between Higgins and Pickering to see if he can really do it and if he has the intellect and is smart enough to transform this girl into a well-respected woman.
Higgins begins to teach her proper manners and speech. He clothes her, and his maid bathes her and cleans her up, transforming her whole entire look.
So then, when Higgins finally decides to, take her out, he's picked this garden party to take her to. His mom's going to be there. There are going to be a couple other people there. Just something little and simple to see how it goes, to see if she's really ready. So they get there, and she starts talking, and she meets his mom. Everything's going all right. Then she starts talking about how her dad poured gin down her aunt's throat to try to save her from dying. That's not a high society conversation. Nonetheless, a conversation you should really have, period. And so then she meets a guy named Freddie at the garden party, and Freddie quickly gains a little crush on our girl Eliza.
Higgins is soon mad, and then he scolds her. He begins to teach her more, and life goes on as normal. Sometime later, Mr. Doolittle comes to Henry's house looking for his daughter, but has an underlying intention for money.
So Higgins gives him the money just to kind of get him off his back. Not a big deal. He wants to continue this bet with Eliza, or with Pickering about Eliza. Same difference. And they're talking or whatever, and Higgins is like, oh yeah, you're the most moral person I know, joking around and stuff. And then this is kind of just a little background on Mr. Doolittle. The events I'm about to say take place throughout the story, not just right now. Keep that in mind. So anyways, they're talking. He says most moral person thing. Then this, millionaire in the States is, messaging, or in this case, mailing letters to Higgins saying, oh, I need a moral person, something. And jokingly, Higgins sends a letter back saying, oh, this guy named Mr. Doolittle, he's super moral and all this stuff, he's great. And then, long story short, the millionaire winds up leaving all of his money and things to Mr. Doolittle, whom he doesn't even know personally. And he winds up passing away, and Mr. Doolittle inherits all that money and wealth, and he's got this girlfriend, and he feels entitled to get married. He has all this money he doesn't know what to do with, and none of that's really important, but that's just kind of a little bit of Eliza.
One night, Eliza gets frustrated because she understands that Higgins doesn't think of her in a special way. She throws Higgins' slippers at him and is upset and frustrated. She doesn't know what is to become of her after this, and she's trapped being someone's slave or a play toy. Eliza wants her freedom, but also knows no other way. She gives Higgins all of his jewelry back because she doesn't know if it's technically hers or his.
And so he's insulted by this, and it just gets really heated, and then Eliza winds up running away. And she's questioning everything. She doesn't know if Higgins truly ever cared, or if this was ever meant anything. She's just unsure of it all, and she just wants to be her own person and make her own decisions. And so she runs away to his mother's house, ironically, and lives in her attic. And her mother is aware, or his mother's aware, that she's up there, and she takes care of her and sympathizes for her and is kind to her in this time of pain and misunderstanding.
By the end of the story, Higgins calms down and explains himself and respects her more. But now she is unsure of things and will get better back to normal.
And he explains to her that they will never go back to, not that they won't go back to normal, but he'll never treat her differently. He's always going to treat her the same way he always has. That's just who he is. He's not going to change for her. He's going to do him and treat people how he wants to and how he always has treated her. And so Eliza doesn't know if she wants to go back because of how things may be, or if they stay the same, obviously, because she didn't like the way they were. And it's not about Higgins being in love with her or her being in love with Higgins, because that's not the case at all. But there's also the ending that she could run off with Freddie and get married and be in love. So you don't ever really know what she chooses to do. The story doesn't specify. So it's an untold ending with a love story twist.
Unanswered questions with that ending, but thanks for watching Channel 14's newest gossip segment. Tune in for next week's heartbreaking story.
But before we go, we have 2 special interviews. And we're just going to get some one-on-one questions and talk to Eliza and Mr. Higgins themselves.
Welcome back. This is Eliza, and we're going to ask her a couple questions about her story. How did you feel the night that you met Higgins at the corner?
Just trying to sell my flowers and, enjoy selling them, and then he came up to me, and I was, insecure because he was like, oh, you sound really bad, and, your language is awful. I said it was really rude, but I just felt kind of weird around him, and then he's like, maybe I can help you, and I was like, this is really strange. I'm like, well, I want to be a flower girl, I want to have my own shop and, be independent, and I actually needed help for my, language and speaking, and so he ended up helping me, and yeah.
Tell us about your heated moment with him.
Oh my God, that was pretty tough. He was like, I'm not gonna, once you're gone, I'll be glad that you'll not be around, because he was so bored of taking care of me, he said, and I felt really felt disrespectful and everything. He was so rude to me, and I wanted that respect he didn't want to give me, and he was like, oh, I'm never going to act the same way, I'm going to still act rude to you. I'm like, so I was pretty angry at him for that.
And then, can we get the untold story?
Yeah, I came back, and then I ended up marrying Freddie, and we had 2 children. I own a flower shop now, so.
Ooh, what are the children's names?
Harry and Lizzie.
Those are so cute. Thank you for coming out tonight.
I love you.
All right, so I've got here with me Mr. Higgins, and he's also our special guest star, and we're just going to ask him some questions and get his opinion and views on his side of the story. All right, so for starters, when you first saw her that night, when it was raining and everything, what were you, thinking? What happened?
Well, one thing, the speech is awful.
Yes. So that's basically how the story starts. So elaborate on that. What was going on? Who were you talking to? What made you come up to her and talk to her about that?
I was taking notes for my research on vowels and consonants and how you can determine where someone lives by just the way they talk. And I haven't gotten notes from that side of town, and I found this young lady whose speech was just appalling. So I thought she'd be a good test subject.
Yeah, I agreed. So after that, she comes to your door and is asking you for help. What are you thinking when this girl is at your house?
Get out.
It's understandable. And so, okay, so you've taught her this all this time, you've come all this way, and then you have this heated disagreement, argument. What's going through your mind? How are you feeling? What happened?
I don't see anything on what I said to be wrong.
All right. And just, you back it up, everything that happened?
Yes, I treat everybody the same. I don't treat anybody differently at all. I will treat you the same way that I will treat some, nobody off the side of the road.
Mm-hmm. And so, how do you feel about her actually winding up going to get married to Freddie and owning her own flower shop and not coming back to work for you? Did that affect you at all?
Yes, I have missed very many important appointments because that woman just never came back to tell me. So, I have some financial trouble now. but that should be fixed up very soon with my selling my research off to high-class universities.
Yes, well, you're a very intelligent and great man, so I'm sure everything will work out. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope everything works out for you.
No problem.